Okay, we are back with Sheriff Michael Heldman. Another episode of Milkshakes and Meaning. Sometimes we have a Deech's milkshake in here, but we're ditching the milkshake today.
Distracted driving, we can't do that.
We don't want to do distracted driving. I appreciate that. Yes. The downtown Deech's doesn't open until 3, and that's my go-to.
There you go. Yes.
I think. Sorry, Eric at Deech, if I misquoted that. But anyhow. I did an interview with Tim Saltzman in the car. I did reach out to Verl Warnemont, and so thanks for doing this. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for letting me drive.
Yeah. Hey, no problem. I'm not in control.
You're not in control.
I don't know if I like this very much. But
See, that's the reason I'm driving.
I think it's a good leadership quality right there.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. The role of a sheriff. What is the role of a sheriff?
You know, the role of the sheriff is really a multifunctional, because you stop and think the sheriff has to be in charge of the jail. We have to protect the citizens of the community and the county. You know, here in Hancock County, we have the responsibility of investigating all the crimes and all the incidents and accidents that take place in the rural area, because we don't have a lot of other police departments. We have Findlay, we have Macomb, we have the University of Findlay Police Department, and then we have the Highway Patrol. But in many other counties, you have township police, you have village police. In Hancock County, we don't. So our role is in charge of all of the county. And what many people don't realize, that the sheriff is the chief law enforcement officer of the county. And we have jurisdiction everywhere, where in many other places, you know, if you're a police department, you strictly have, in a police department, you're strictly limited to the city limits or the village limits, whatever it may be. So with the sheriff, it's, again, the jail is the first priority. That is the first responsibility. That is the thing that the commissioners have to fund. We're also a court officer. We're responsible to the Common Pleas Court. We handle any incidences. We transport to and from any inmates for court hearings. So, and there's the civil process, which takes in paper service, foreclosures, property sales. There is many things that a lot of people don't realize. And one of the things we started years ago was our Citizen Sheriff's Academy. And we wanted to educate the public about what all the sheriff does. And that is one of the things that people realize, that we do many different things.
Yeah, because I haven't dealt with the police office, Findlay City Police or sheriffs, too often.
You're a good
you know
boy.
what I mean?
You're a good boy. Okay.
So, I've always wondered about, okay, do sheriffs, can sheriffs pull over people on Main Street, downtown Findlay, if they're speeding, and can the Findlay Police Department come out to the county?
Only if they're in pursuit.
Only if they're in pursuit. Okay.
Or if there's an investigation ongoing that leads them to talk to someone outside the city limits, they can do that.
Okay. So what about, do you work with, if somebody gets called in Macomb or Arlington, does the police departments there handle that, or do you guys have to just stay in communication with them, or?
Macomb has their own police department, and we dispatch for them. And if there's an incident that takes place in Macomb, we will respond to Macomb to assist them if they need it. If they want to handle it, they can. They have 4 officers over there, so we work closely with them. Same way with the city of Findlay. Now that we're on the same platform with our records management system, we work well with them. For years we've had the Metrics drug unit, and we've had at least 2 deputies assigned to the Metrics along with the Findlay Police Department. We were together investigating drugs.
Okay, that's interesting. So why do you think you're better than your 2 opponents? Because have you ever been because you've been, how many elections have you won?
6.
Really? And has anybody ever ran against you during those 6 elections?
In 97 and 96, there was 3 of us. And then in 2008, Tom Reniger and I ran for the office of sheriff. And then the rest of the time I've been unopposed.
Okay. So how do you, why are you better?
Why am I better? My experience as sheriff has brought I can bring a lot to the table with that experience. And with everything that's going on with our current affairs that's going on with the county, I believe I can have the leadership to take us forward for the next 4 years, because it's very important that we not only maintain the safety and security of all the citizens of Hancock County, but as well we need to look at all the what are we going to do with the jail, the overcrowding. We're talking about this, and so we need to be able to have someone that has some knowledge that can take us forward with that in mind to go forward.
And that's kind of big, the jail. I mean, do you think, and I'm not sure, I read some of the stuff in the newspapers, but do you personally think that it should be increased in size where it's at, or do you think we need to build a whole new
that's
jail?
something we've talked about, and a couple of years ago I probably would have said we need to just expand where it's at. Well, now that we keep growing in numbers and transporting more and more people on a daily basis, we're transporting we're averaging about 34 people outside of Hancock County housed on a daily basis. So that gets expensive, transporting our people, moving these people. So we have to look at that as to where are we going, what is our next step. So the commissioners back in, I believe it was August, entered a contract with Mark Martin and Associates. They do jail and justice studies. And they have come into our county with a very open mind. They are looking at what we can do, what they can do to figure out where we're at, what Hancock County is doing wrong, what we're doing right, and be able to say, this is what we need to do next. So what we're looking at is a reply back from them probably in the next 3 to 6 months, and give us an idea if it's going to be a jail expansion, a remodeling of our current facility and make it bigger and better. We really don't know, because one thing for certain, the cost of construction, the cost of remodeling is very expensive when you're dealing with a jail and a building like we have.
Okay, that's interesting. So it's overcrowded.
Yes.
So when jails are overcrowded, does that mean that judges are more lenient, so to speak? So we don't.
I could only wish.
I mean, what do you do when you're overcrowded? You just double up?
Well,
is that a problem then?
We can't double up, so we have to find housing somewhere in neighboring counties. Right now we're in Wood County, Putnam County, Mercer County, and Van Wert County. We've had people clear up in Paulding County. So we find as the beds closest to our area. The problem is a lot of other jails in around in Ohio have the same problem we have. They're farming people out as well. Back in October time frame, our association did a survey, and there was 92 beds in all of Ohio that were open to put inmates. 92 beds out of all the jails. That is not very many beds. So Ohio is in a real desperate state right now as far as where are we going to find housing for all these upcoming inmates.
And why is that? Is it the opioid problem? I mean, have you seen an increase in the last 24 years of inmates?
Yes, definitely. And we started seeing an increase in '99, and that was mainly on the misdemeanor side. And that's when we opened up the rehabilitation center out at the old county home.
Yeah.
And that worked for a while, but then people didn't want to pay to stay. So what we did, we closed that because it was costing the county money. The city took it over and tried to operate it for a while. It worked for them for what they needed, but eventually it was not a financially good decision. So they went back to, we're back to where we're at, and they're putting them in jail.
Okay.
And now we're seeing a 70-30 split rather than misdemeanors. We're seeing more felons, and the felonies are 70-30 in that regard. A lot of women. A few years ago we had 12, 15 women. We hold 18. Now we're up in the 30s on the number of women we have in our jail. So we have to make room for them, accommodate for them. When you we've taken a male cell block that's next to the female block and converted it to a female block. So that moved male inmates out. So we have to house outside the county. And the reason for it, as your question was, is there more drug offenses? In the last 2 years, we've went over 500 grand jury indictments for drug offenses. I can't say it's all heroin. It's methamphetamine. It's whatever the drug of choice is today. Today is methamphetamine. Tomorrow it might be solely something different.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Okay, interesting. So to transport somebody outside of the county just costs money.
It costs money.
So you think, because here's what I've heard. I've heard like, oh, he just wants to hang around another 4 years to get his name on the jail. Have you heard that?
I've heard that. And let me tell you, if we started construction or started a formal plan in June of this year, I can't say we'd be able to be building and have a building ready to move into in 4 years. The timing and the planning and everything that goes with it takes a long time, because there's a period of time that we have to put. There is a planning, it's called PONY, it's planning of a new institution, that there's going to be commissioners, the sheriff, the jail administrator, some judges, and some public have to go through before we can even start the planning process. So it's a long time period. Unless you have things ready to go, you have the financing and the money in place.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen that quick.
Okay. Hey, one of your opponents thinks that there should be more deputies on the streets.
I don't argue that.
You think, and is that just more taxpayer money? Is that if that happens, or?
It's going to cost more, yes. And I have asked the last 3 years. I have asked for the commissioners every year when we go back for our budget. We want additional funding for more people, but unfortunately, when we have an overcrowding of the jail and housing inmates on the outside, we have to subtract from our budget and accommodate for the housing. So we have to do some give and take, because there's not enough money in the big pot of the general fund for the commissioners to give us everything we asked for.
Okay. A lot of people say, he's 69. Why is he running again? He should retire, which I don't. We talked about this before. First of all, you look great.
Thank you.
You look young.
Thank you.
69 is young. I think's young. So I'm big, into living to between, 80 and 100 and still being functional, but, working out all the time. So, what do you say when people say that? Hey, shouldn't you just retire, hanging up? Why do you keep going?
Number one, I love the job. Number two, this is my life. Law enforcement is a fantastic career for me. And yes, I am 69 years old. I don't feel 69. Mentally and physically, I feel like I'm 35. And that makes me younger, man. But no, seriously, it's something that I don't feel 69 is too old to do the job. As we talked, look at all the other candidates around for the president and all these other ones. Everybody is older nowadays. People are working longer.
Yes.
People are living longer. And I don't think 69 should be a cutoff period for the office of sheriff.
Oh yeah. I mean, is there an age? Is there a...
No.
No. Okay.
There are a number of sheriffs that are well into their 70s that are currently elected and serving as sheriffs around Ohio.
Okay. Now, is the police chief, the Findlay City Police Chief, that's not an elected position, is it?
No, that's...
And why is the sheriff an elected position, but the city police?
That's the statute for all 80 in Ohio, that all 88 counties elect their sheriff, and that is part of the 311 section of the Ohio Revised Code, that he is electable, and then there is qualifications for the sheriff as he is elected. So as county commissioner, treasurer, auditor, that's one of the office holders of a county.
Okay. Back to the jail really quick here. Where would the money come from?
Right now, that's a good question. The commissioners have talked about it. They're trying to set money aside from the imposed tax levies that they've had. They're currently building a juvenile probate building. Where all this, I don't know. That is something the commissioners are going to have to decide through the planning in the next couple of years.
And then you just kind of present what you think to the commissioners, and you just all work together on this stuff and
correct.
Make
and
a decision?
It's not the sheriff's decision. It's going to be up to that. It's a decision that judges, the commissioners, the sheriff would be part of, and the public, the community, is going to have to decide on, because it will definitely be a major investment.
Okay. One more thing. Tim Saltzman talked about going into the schools and having a sheriff, the schools that want a sheriff in their school,
right,
and how expensive it is, and he thinks he should do it a different way by having private tech come in. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do.
What do you think about that?
A school resource officer, we've been doing this since the early 2000s, and the schools have decided to do this because they want to see the presence of a sheriff's deputy in uniform with a car parked in front of the school to be help for the safety and the security of that school. So we continue this process, and I think that's the safest way of doing it. What Tim is proposing is putting the liability back onto the school, and the schools, I don't believe, can afford that liability. Plus, we are helping pay for that officer in the school. It's under the new bill that passed this past year, House Bill 318, which is the school resource officer bill, enables us to enter into a contract with a school, and with that contract, we have an agreement what they pay us, but we provide the uniform, we provide the car, we provide all the equipment and all the training of that officer. That officer is in that school not only to be, he's not a security guard, as what Tim is proposing. He is an officer that's there to help and handle complaints, work with the students, interact with the students, and many times these young students, the only time they see a law enforcement officer is on a negative side. When a law enforcement officer can be in a school and be in there and interact and develop a relationship, they start seeing an officer on a positive side. They can also go into the classroom and they can talk about health and safety tips, seatbelt programs, drug alcohol programs is what we need to promote. And this is what the two school resource officers in Riverdale and Van Buren are currently doing. Then we have the third school resource officer that is going out into the county he handles the other 4 schools just like we've done in the past.
Okay, that's interesting. That's a good point. I like the way you said that about, they kind of see the officer maybe in a different light, getting
Correct.
to know him more personable.
Yes.
Personally, so yeah, that's a good point. Anything else you want to add?
This has been fun. It's interesting.
Yeah, I'm glad. Thanks for doing this.
And I just, any of your followers, I just ask for their support and their vote on March 17th.
March 17th. Hey, I just want to thank you for all of your years of service. I've always, and I don't know, it's probably my upbringing, my dad, my mom, but I've always held police officers, sheriffs, highway patrolmen in high regard and really respected them.
Thank you.
So thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right.
Take care.
Michael Heldman, March 17th for the primaries, right?
That's correct.
All right.
You got it.
Have a good day. Thanks for watching.